Super Mario Sunshine. Some people love it, some people hate it. So some people think it's okay. It's a very divisive Mario game. One second you're enjoying the lovely open levels with amazing controls, and then the next second you're relying on this guy to throw you across this gap, which almost guarantees death. This game, for lack of a better term, is kind of a mess. There's a lot of things to not like about this game, but despite it all, I love this game to death. But I also kinda hate it. So today I'm gonna go in great detail about why this game is actually terrible, while also defending it for being a somewhat misunderstood game. There is a lot to unpack here, so I might be all over the place in explaining my thoughts in this video. Bear with me because my dumb ramblings will all make sense in the end. With that said, if you're new here, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with the bell like the Giga Chad you are. Anyways, let's jump right into it. The first thing you typically notice about Super Mario Sunshine is its setting. It's very different from any Mario game that has ever been released. You see, when developing new games, Nintendo doesn't like to restrict themselves. So when it comes to Mario, gameplay is their top priority. They are not worried about story whatsoever. So that's why most 3D Mario games take place, you know, wherever they take place. Nintendo never exactly puts time into building the world as much as they do with something like Zelda. So you'll play games like Super Mario 64, where Mario jumps through paintings to arrive at floating islands. Or it's Super Mario Galaxy, and since it takes place in space, they just slap everything and anything into the game, and I guess it makes sense because it's space, you know? Sunshine doesn't do any of that. The entire game takes place on Isle Delphino, which is basically this dolphin-looking piece of land. It's essentially a huge tropical resort on an island. And with that, the game even goes great lengths to make you believe that you are still on this island throughout all of the levels in the game. Of course, you have the central hub being Delphino Plaza, which is one of the best hub worlds in all of gaming. This place is very alive and there's tons of hidden secrets and levels you can find here. The plaza also leads to the levels that you play in the game. And in every single level, they managed to make the environment look unique, but also fit within the setting of the game. It all feels believable. So believable that you can even look off in the distance to see the other levels that Mario gets to play through. From Bianca Hills, you can see Rico Harbor below you down the mountain. You can see Pina Park off in the distance from Gelato Beach. This game was just a few loading screens away from being completely open world. And that's not to mention how great some of these individual locations are. Bianca Hills is a cool hilltop with some windmills, trees, and a soundtrack that feels gratefully inviting. Personally, it's one of my favorite tracks in the game. Next, you got Rico Harbor, which is a dock area with boats and all that stuff. And the music goes ba 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 ba. Noki Bay is very relaxing. It feels like you almost just wandered into a resort area of the island. There's all like, you know, water and stuff. What the fuck am I saying? It's also got a banger soundtrack when you enter the underwater section. Very sweet, calming, and nostalgic for the era it's from. Gelato Beach is a beach that looks really cool, but they got these enemies that are not so cool. Genuinely f*** these guys. Then you got Pinata Village, which is on this nice little mountaintop, and I really like the aesthetic here because it's not tropical in the same way that Gelato Beach is, but it feels tropical in the sense that you just walked into a rainforest. This is like a little community further out in the wilderness of the island. And then finally you got Serena Beach, which has a cool hotel. Most of your activities on this level will take place in the hotel, so it's kind of a nice change up in scenery. You know, you can't have a water resort without a hotel. That's like the thing. Overall, I find it really cool that Nintendo managed to make all of these levels seem unique, but also the same. The setting and atmosphere may not be as interesting or as diverse as Super Mario Odyssey, for an example, but it's still a fantastic world to play in. For a game that takes place on one island water resort, it's kind of surprising that I never feel bored of the environment. The unique areas on the island makes up for it entirely. tenfold. Nintendo also did something to make the world even more believable. They added a narrative. What? A narrative in a Mario game? This has gotta be awesome.
You pest, stop following us.
No way. It's better than awesome. Welcome to the only 3D Mario game where voice-acted dialogue is a thing, and you're gonna see Bowser speaking to Princess Peach and Mario. I hope that doesn't seem weird, because it kinda is, but you know, I guess it's something. Jokes aside, I don't mind the voice-acted cutscenes, surprisingly. Oddly enough, I would say that I do like the voice that they chose for Bowser and Bowser Jr. It's kinda goofy in a good way. I think they fit their designs and their characters very well. But even then, with these voices, I don't know, it just feels unnecessary. I can sum up the story really fast. Mario and Peach go to vacation on Isle Delphino, and Mario gets framed by evil Mario. So now he has to clean up the island while also protecting and saving Peach from Bowser. In the end, Mario comes out victorious and enjoys the rest of his vacation. Wow. So much happened. I'm not against characters having voice acting, but if you're gonna put voice acting and a story in your game, I expect something a bit more ambitious. Obviously, this is still Mario, we're not gonna get Xenoblade Chronicles storytelling, but they could have still done something cool. Even with a game like Super Mario Galaxy, that has barely any story, but they still managed to give it its charm through its atmosphere and minimal text boxes. In this story, Mario is just doing Mario things. I don't care. This story is extremely bare bones, because it's exactly what you'd expect from a Mario game. They told a basic story that could have been told without voice acting. So my question is, if it's going to be this bare bones, then why go to the extent of voice-acted cutscenes? In my personal opinion, a game theory, if you will, I think Nintendo low-key tried to force this story onto the game. Think about the gaming trends at the time. Ratchet & Clank had voice acting, Sly Cooper had it, Jak and Daxter had it, even Mario's biggest rival, Sonic, had it. The game came out at a time where platformers had voice acting, all games had voice acting. And look, I don't think voice acting is necessarily bad for platformers. I love Sonic games, and those games are all voice acted. And they even have some ambitious storytelling, for better or for worse. However, with Mario, he's never really been that serious. Mario's cool because his games aren't focused on story. You pick up the controller and play. No BS, no long story segments, just simple fun. You just grab it. Granted, with all this said, I still do like the story of this game. Because of one reason, the final cutscene. I love this interaction between Bowser and Bowser Jr. It's a very charming cutscene, and it makes me want to see Mario lose and die. Now, with the setting out of the way, it's time to talk about the gameplay. Super Mario Sunshine still holds the same formula as Super Mario 64. You're thrown into a level and your goal is to collect a star. But how you choose to go about obtaining the star is all up to the player. Except now, Mario has Flood, this water gun device that allows the player to shoot water to attack enemies or clean off surfaces, or otherwise, float. This is one of the coolest gimmicks to a platformer ever. Flood just adds so much to Mario's moveset, and it changes how you approach all of these levels. My only critique is that Flood's kinda slow, like when you're trying to fly up to a certain area, it takes forever. The platforming in this game is not always the most fast-paced, because you're often climbing up high areas when platforming. Since Flood gives Mario the ability to float, they decided to increase the verticality of these levels by a ton. So there's a lot of slow moments where you're trying to float somewhere with Flood, and it's just moving at a snail's pace. Man, I just wish there was a gimmick that was much more fast-paced and also changed the game greatly. We're not there yet, we can't talk about that yet. Overall though, I love Flood, and I think it's a great addition to Mario's moveset. In fact, I'd even say if we included everything, that Super Mario Sunshine is a better controlling game than Super Mario 64. So yeah, the game did improve upon the previous, in one area. The only thing holding it back for me is the fact that they removed the long jump. and that is a crime against humanity. Instead, you have this spin jump, which is really cool in retrospect. I just prefer the long jump. The backflip is also missing. However, I don't even think that one matters. I don't think I've ever once felt the need to do a backflip in this game because you can already use Flood to reach high areas, so what's even the point? In conclusion, the controls in Super Mario Sunshine are superb. They feel extremely responsive and easy to use, and honestly, it's one of my favorite controlling Mario games. Now, as for the levels themselves, I got a lot to say, and not everything is great. First and foremost, the objectives are fun enough. Instead of 6 stars for every level, there's now 8. And while that may sound like you're getting more bang for your buck, unfortunately you're not. Super Mario Sunshine only has 7 full-sized levels, meaning there are 7 sandboxes to collect stars in. Now, there are smaller ones too, like the volcano and some other secret levels, but you only get 7 actual real levels, which is a huge downgrade from Super Mario 64's 15 levels. Thankfully, the fun factor of collecting these stars mostly makes up for it. Keyword most of the stars are genuinely fun to collect. It's the typical 64 objective. Sometimes you'll be collecting red coins, fighting bosses, solving some random dumb issue. My favorite stars are the ones where you have to climb up some big structure and get a star upon reaching the top. If you like Super Mario 64, you will like this game. However, I have a lot to say, and I've been holding back all video, so let's talk about the bad stuff. Okay, Super Mario Sunshine literally had the perfect chance to be a amazing video game masterpiece. All they had to do was make Super Mario 64 but improve upon anything that fell short. So what did they do? They fucked it up. I am never going to let it go. This astronomical, colossal fumble of a game. Let's start with debatably the worst issue this game has, in my opinion. They made the game... Now you may be saying, what? It's not a linear game, it's an open game. Can't you see the levels? They're open. Sure, the level design might be open, but how you progress through the game is very linear. In Super Mario 64, you could tackle pretty much any star in any order, on top of having so many levels available to you. And no matter what you picked and chose, as long as you reached the star requirement, you could reach the next area of levels. You could choose whatever stars you want to make it to the end of the game. It's what made Super Mario 64 so fun. It's what turned this sandbox platformer into one of the most replayable games of all time. Because it didn't matter what day it was, you could always replay Mario 64 and choose a different pathway. Super Mario Sunshine, however, they don't do that. You have 8 stars. 8 stars that you must complete in chronological order. You can't just play the game and choose which stars you're gonna collect first and plan out your pathways. No, you gotta get the stars in the order that the game wants you to. This is terrible. This is honestly terrible. I guess the reason why they did this is because some of the stars require specific events to take place, which requires reloading the level. An example would be this specific level from Bianca Hills where the water turns into poison and acts as a new obstacle for the star you're trying to get. But my question is, if you are going to change the level every time to add new obstacles for every star to make it different, then why did you make it open level design? If you don't have the time or effort to figure out how to fit every star into a level, then why don't you just make smaller linear levels? Wouldn't that make 20 times more sense? Oh wait, it does. That's exactly what they did with the next game. This part of the game genuinely infuriates me because Nintendo is so much better than this. They gave us Super Mario 64, that masterpiece, this beautiful game. They know how to design good open Mario levels. Why did they do this? Why? Don't get me wrong, these levels are still fun. I still somehow love this garbage game. but it could have been so much better. They cut the replayability down significantly by choosing to do something like this. You are making a collectathon with open levels. Why are we designing the game to restrict the player's freedom? That's like going against your whole philosophy. It's really sad because I love these levels' aesthetics and designs. It's a good looking game. You could have put so many great stars in these levels. Why, Nintendo? Why? Okay, there's still more though. You think I'm done complaining about this game? I'm not. All right, sit still. There's another aspect of the game that brings me godly amounts of stress. It's the gimmicks. Oh, the gimmicks? What do you mean by that? I'm referring to any unique mechanic or item that is required to obtain a star. On paper, that sounds cool. Introducing a new one-off mechanic to spice up the gameplay. Oh boy, how great could this be? Well, Sunshine fumbled this too. In fact, they fumbled it so hard that I can make a top 5 worst gimmicks. That's what I'm gonna do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the top 5 worst level gimmicks in Super Mario Sunshine. Let's go. Starting off our list at number 5, we have the pachinko machine. Imagine throwing your flimsy body down a pachinko machine and you have to successfully land on a star. Sounds pretty uncomfortable, right? Exactly. This sucks. Too slippery, almost feels like RNG. It's not higher because I guess I don't struggle with it as much as I used to, but this thing still sucks, trust me. Okay, woohoo, number 4. This dumb, stupid watermelon. Basically, there's this watermelon contest, and Mario has to bring the biggest watermelon to the front of the beach to get a star. However, the watermelon is on top of the biggest hill, and you have to roll it down to the beach. Which sounds easy, right? Like, you just rolling a ball, right? Wrong. This watermelon breaks in one hit to literally everything. You accidentally rubbed it on the wrong surface? Gone. Blade of grass? Gone. Kirby's epic yarn? It can't even take that. And if it wasn't bad enough, they thought it would be a great idea to slap a million enemies here that will just blow up your watermelon within one hit. They always chase you down, and if they touch that watermelon, it is decimated instantly. My advice is to constantly water gun them and then stomp them. I know it sounds tedious, but this is what you gotta do to beat the level. Number 3, this might not be a gimmick, but I don't care, I'm including it anyway. There is a cleaning up minigame on Pierre Beach where you have to clean up the beach in a short amount of time. Zero redeeming factors about this star, it is complete BS. The time limit is far too short, it's just stupid, alright? It's too short, I need more time to do this. There is something you can do with Flood that allows you to clear up the beach a lot more quickly and easier. You can do this little blast water move, which is actually very helpful, but I swear this is never taught to you in the game, and if it is, maybe I missed it in my 2 100% playthroughs, but I don't know. I had to learn it from the internet. Number 2, the throwing minigame. This is so awful and terrible that I seriously want to know who let this pass playtesting. I'm serious, who let this pass playtesting? Who in their right sober mind thought it was okay to release a game with this terrible minigame? Basically, in this Shadow Mario level, you have to talk to one of the civilians to get them to throw you across to the other platforms. Unfortunately, it's incredibly sensitive, and if you don't talk to the civilian in the exact precise angle, you'll be thrown completely off the map. I cannot stress enough how garbage this mechanic is. Who played this and said, you know what, Shigeru Miyamoto, this is pretty good. I think we should ship it. Whoever said that, f*** you. You know what, I'm throwing in an honorable mention. I just remembered another gimmick that I also don't like. The jet skis. You get to use the jet skis in Rico Harbor when you're collecting red coins or you're doing a race. And that sounds pretty cool to use a jet ski. I mean, who doesn't want to ride on a jet ski, right? But it actually just sucks big balls. These things control terribly, and every time you run into a somewhat solid surface, you die instantly, so you need to know how to control these things competently. It makes this gimmick incredibly annoying and hard to work with. If you want my advice on how to not die with this thing, do not push forward on the analog stick, just move left and right, and you'll have enough handling to move around however you want to. If you do push forward, you'll be moving so fast that you'll probably run into something and die. At our number 1 spot, we got the lily pad. Basically, you gotta take Yoshi across the water of Delphino Plaza, which is already difficult in a note of itself. Then you have to enter this secret level, and in this level, you will see a lily pad on the water. You have to get on that and blow the lily pad to the end of the water while collecting red coins. By the way, if you fall in the water, you die instantly. This entire level is so BS that there are fucking tutorials on how to beat it. Tutorials! If your game is so BS that people have to search up tutorials on the internet on how to beat them, then maybe you need to rebalance it. This is called polishing up. We polish up games so that we don't have issues like this that get overlooked. We gotta polish our games, gentlemen, alright? We can't be releasing games like this, alright? So yeah, the gimmicks suck. They're bad. But the last thing I want to talk about is the elephant in the room. I know everyone is waiting for me to mention this. The blue coins. Basically, when you're trying to go for 100% completion, you have to obviously obtain all of the stars. But to obtain a good handful of stars, you have to collect all of the blue coins. And there are like 30 of them in every level. So you have to go search all of these levels up and down looking for these dumb small blue coins just so you can beat the game. It is so tedious and dumb that you might as well open up a guide for all of the locations because it's just not worth trying to find them on your own. If the blue coins never existed, Super Mario Sunshine would have been a pretty alright experience to 100%. Sure, there might have been a few stars that aren't so fun like the watermelon or the lily pad, like those things suck. But at least you don't have to scrounge every level looking for blue coins, you know, it would be an easier 100%. It would be a lot more fun, it'd make a lot more sense for the player. However, that is not the case. These blue coins are here and they make 100%ing this game so much worse. This is just not fun. This is not creative at all. You are not talented by putting 30 blue coins in a level. That's not, what is even the point in that? Forcing the player to run around these levels and looking for a million of these things, that's just not fun design. Now, here's what I'll say. I have another game theory. I think the reason why they chose to do this is because they realized from the base levels in the game, they didn't have enough stars to reach the 120 star cap that was from Super Mario 64. And as you know, you get 120 stars, you 100% the game. So instead, to reach this 120 star cap, they just added a bunch of blue coins everywhere. It's almost like filler stars. You know, it's not even almost filler stars, it literally is filler stars. The blue coins serve zero purpose aside from just being filler for the game. And it sucks. It sucks a lot. This game has always been infamous for its 100% requirements, so you probably already knew about everything I was about to say. Surprise, surprise, I'm not a fan of it, and you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find someone who actually likes the blue coins. And you know, with all that said and done, Super Mario Sunshine has some hands. This is a game that will drive you crazy. In fact, this game kinda sucks. I'm not even gonna lie. According to most game design principles, this is a flawed game from beginning to end. They tried making an open-leveled collectathon platformer, but hindered it by making it linear. I can't think of a single reason why someone would think that the watermelon gimmick is fun, but they did it anyway. They, for some reason, put it in the game. There's no telling as to why this game is the way it is. It was probably rushed out the door just like most games at the time. Because believe it or not, Super Mario Sunshine was not the only game that suffered from being heavily unpolished. Metroid Prime had some dumb backtracking near the end of the game. Same thing with Wind Waker. This is just a weird result of that era of gaming. It just happens to be the worst example of it. And to be honest, I don't blame anyone for not liking this game. It's honestly not that great of a platformer. But, you know, despite it all, Super Mario Sunshine is still one of the greatest experiences I have ever had with a game. I have 100% this game twice now. That's right, I went through this 2 times. I love this game to death. I also hate it. But when it's all said and done and I've gone through the pain of playing, I tend to appreciate the good moments more than I dwell on the bad. Without getting too personal, I remember the first time I 100%ed this game, I was going through a really bad time in my life. I just wasn't happy and nothing really fulfilled me. I was in school at the time and I kind of just isolated myself from talking to people because life was just, you know, it wasn't hitting. My mindset at the time was very negative and I was having some pretty terrible thoughts, to put it lightly. But around that time, I remember going to therapy, and on my off time when I wasn't making videos, I was playing Super Mario Sunshine. And even though I was getting very frustrated with the dumb aspects of the game, I'd say that it genuinely helped me a lot. Because in a time of my life where I was very bored and felt not much of anything at all, there was this game that was fantastic, annoying, and a journey from beginning to end. It gave me something to look forward to whenever I was done editing a video or whenever I came back from school. And when you're down on yourself and you feel like you're lacking purpose, looking forward to achieving a long challenge is exactly what you need. And at the time, that was Super Mario Sunshine for me. I'm much better now, I have a positive mindset, I'm doing great in life. But every time I play this game, I almost remember that feeling I had at the time when I was playing it. The feeling of finally being invested in something I cared about and being happy after a long time of nothing fulfilling me. I'm sure that this game didn't fix all my problems. That'd be kind of crazy if I came here and said Super Mario Sunshine saved my life. I'm not saying that. Therapy definitely helped me a lot, like that's probably the main factor, but I'm happy that every time I play Sunshine, I have a great memory attached to it of when I was starting to feel better about myself. So yeah, in a weird way, I do have a lot of sentimental value with this game. I love this game to pieces, and even though it's frustrating, it makes me happy to play it. It may not be the best 3D Mario game. In fact, it might even be the worst. But at the end of the day, in my personal opinion, Super Mario Sunshine is somehow a great game despite it all. I really shouldn't have as much fun as I do with this game. Most people I talk to talk about how bad this game is, but you know, I'm over here saying, yeah, I 100%ed it twice and I had fun both times. And look, what matters more? Whether a game does everything right, or if you're happy when you play the game. And with that said, I love Super Mario Sunshine, and now it's time to move on to Super Mario Galaxy. I'm gonna hope that it doesn't take me a year to make that video. I know I'd be procrastinating, I'm sorry. So if you're interested in all that, or if you're new here, make sure to hit subscribe with the bell, or check out one of the videos right here. All support goes a very long way, so I'm very thankful for everyone who tuned in on this video. Anyways, I love you guys, I'll see you very soon, and peace out.